team and just basically told us, obviously, congrats on making it to the playoffs, and it's not something we can just overlook. Like, it's pretty cool to do that, and so felt good about that. But obviously, the next challenge is, like, we just win one game at a time and try to be the best that we can going into the playoffs. And obviously, we know what's at stake with the first seed and all that, but we can't, get our minds wrapped around just that. Like, we have to go handle business and play a really good team in Chicago next week coming to our place. So we have to be locked in. We have to watch this film. We have to get better. So, but it was cool hearing Coach, sort of congratulate us. But also, there's a lot of work to be done. So.
Still work ahead for the 49ers as they'll take on the Bears and then the Seahawks, Week 17, Week 18. We're going to be all over it. We continue the 49er conversation here as we head back out to the UMA guest line. John Dickinson and Larry Krueger in for Murph and Marcus here on this Christmas Eve Wednesday. And it's a pleasure to be joined by 49ers beat reporter for the Fangirl Sports Network. And, of course, you can hear her on our pre- and post-game shows as well as during the week here on the Sports Leader, including Sunday's game with the 49ers and the Bears and the 5:20 kick down at Levi's. It's Tracy Sandler joining us here. What's going on, Tracy?
Hello. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing
We're
great.
doing well, doing great. Let's get right into it. Quick week. I was telling Krug, my goodness. The rest advantage this late in the season for Chicago playing on a Saturday and the 49ers playing Monday night. I don't know about you. I know you were in Indy. I was in Indy. We kind of started the show, Tracy. I'm not playing. You're not playing. But it hit me getting home. It hit me getting home yesterday, like, oh, wow, it's already going to be Wednesday in the blink of an eye. 49ers up against it a little bit in terms of the rest and getting prepared for this one.
I totally agree. I mean, they have the fact that they don't have to travel again as a boost. And I think even looking ahead in that way for them, knowing that they're not going to have to travel again, at least this regular season, is a good thing. But it is coming fast. You're right. They get home. It was not only a Monday night game, it's a Monday night game on the East Coast. So by the time they're home, it's very early Tuesday morning at some point. That's their day off, and then they got to get right into the Bears' day. So definitely that rest advantage, the Bears are going to have it. They'll have to travel, but again, it's easier to travel to the West Coast, I think, than the East Coast. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. I don't think it's going to necessarily affect the game, but it could affect it early.
Team goals are always more important than individual goals, but it should be noted that Christian McCaffrey already has 1,000 yards rushing. He only needs 151 receiving yards in these final two games to do something nobody has ever done before, which is pretty amazing to say that. Nobody's ever had multiple 1,000 seasons. Roger Craig's done it. Christian's done it. Marshall Faulk has done it. Christian's on the verge of doing it again. What do you think, Tracy? Is he going to get his 151 receiving yards against the Bears and Seahawks, or is he going to fall short?
Well, I think George Kittle's health is going to be a big part of that, because in the games that George Kittle missed, Christian had significantly more receiving yards than he has since George Kittle got back, which makes sense. So depending on George Kittle's health and Ricky Pearsall's health, if both or either of those guys are out Sunday or out for the next couple games, then yes, I think that he has a very high likelihood to do that. If not, I think it's going to be hard to get him to 151 unless they're really running away with the game and they make it a priority, because they just can't afford to do that with the 1 seed on the line. They can't afford, and they never would, obviously, make it more important than the team. But I really think it's going to depend on the health, George Kittle and Ricky Pearsall, and how much they need Christian in the passing game.
The number one headline coming out of Indianapolis was Brock Purdy. Wow, a game in which we had not seen by a 49er quarterback in over 30 years, going back to Super Bowl 29 and Steve Young and his performance against the Chargers in Miami. What impressed you most about Brock Purdy on Monday night, Tracy, and just how big of an advantage is him playing at the level that he has here since his return, seemingly getting better each and every week? How much does that play into these final two games and a potential playoff run for you?
Well, I'll start with the second question. I think it's huge because not only is he getting better and better as you need a quarterback to do and a whole team to do in December and January, he has experience in these situations that the two quarterbacks he's playing do not. Caleb Williams has not been in this situation before. I think Caleb Williams is amazing. I think that team is very impressive. It's going to be a really tough game. But Caleb Williams does not have that kind of experience. Sam Darnold, if it comes down to a Week 18 between the Seahawks and the 49ers for the division, that's a very tough game, but an advantage is Brock Purdy. Aside from the fact that he is obviously a better quarterback, he's been here before, and he's been here since he got here. From the second he took over for Jimmy Garoppolo, every game mattered, and he had to lead them. So I think it ends up being just a tremendous advantage for the 49ers in both ways. And in terms of what we're seeing for him, he just seems super calm, super collected, he's having fun. And we sometimes forget, football is a game. They're supposed to have fun playing it. And it seems like he's having a really good time. He seems completely in control. And it's been really fun to watch. And this is the Brock Purdy that we saw when he did take over for Jimmy a few years ago, that we saw in 2023. Last year was different for a variety of reasons that were not all Brock Purdy. And it's been really cool to watch because he feels vintage Brock, which I do think is a funny thing to say for someone who's in his fourth year in the league. But he does just feel like, it just feels like nothing can go wrong. I know that probably is not something I should say because now I just jinxed it, but it just feels like he is firing on all cylinders. He knows where he wants the ball to go. He's getting it there. He can extend plays. He just looks great. Brock Purdy is the least of their issues right now.
All right, I got a trivia question for you two. We'll see if you can get it. Do you guys know the significance of these two names? Center Keith Ishmael and cornerback Benjamin St. Just. Do either of you want to render a guess?
No.
Tracy says no. JD, do you have the 49er significance of center Keith Ishmael and cornerback Benjamin St. Just?
Are they both from the Bay or both from San Francisco?
No. How about this?
Okay.
The Niners, John Lynch traded a 2020 fifth-round pick and a 2021 third-round pick to the Washington Commanders for Trent Williams. Trent Williams has made 5 Pro Bowls with the Niners. The Commanders used those picks on Keith Ishmael and Benjamin St. Just. That was the trade. Ishmael and St. Just for Trent Williams, who's now a 12-time Pro Bowler. That has got to be the greatest trade in 49er history. That's even better than the Steve Young trade. That's unbelievable thievery. What do you make of Tracy? I know you're in that locker room. You get a chance to kind of be around the players and get a sense for it. I get the sense that Trent, and it really comes to mind when I think of Trent, but really I could say the same thing about CMC, Kittle, Brock, Brendel. The guys who have been to the Super Bowl, especially the overtime one, and tasted that, there's like a hunger and a seriousness and a drive and a focus about these guys, and I sense it the most with Trent. They know they got a shot. It may not be a great shot, but they know they got a shot, and there just seems like there's a real intensity about these guys. Have you noticed that at all?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's really always true of Trent. I think Trent also is really good at what's the right? I don't want to say this the wrong way. I want to say staying on message because he believes the message. He believes the message of the team, but also keeping it very real. By even the other night talking about, the mind shift change that this year was not Super Bowl or bust. It was about being the best team they could be. And Trent said, absolutely. And he said, but you play this game to win the Super Bowl. And of course, part of being the best team you can be is to be the team that at the end wins the Super Bowl. And I think there definitely is that hunger there. There's that focus there. It's something I've noticed all season. It just feels like the idea that taking it week to week is not just something they say. It's something they really put into action and something they really believe. And that is why I think they've been able to be successful, even with everything that has happened, with all the injuries and all the adversity, because they just keep taking it one game at a time. And I think that's part of that intensity, because by having been there and having done this, they know. They know you could look ahead, you could take it one game at a time, and then you could go to the Super Bowl and you could lose. And that's why I think the one game at a time mentality is so important for them. And I think that's part of that intensity. But yeah, I definitely do feel that. And I think this is a team that most people, me included, felt like, I looked at this team before the season as a playoff team, but that they were going to have a young defense, which they do and has issues, and that it was going to take a while for those guys to come around. And it was going to be up to the offense. And that a lot of that has been true, did not factor in Fred Warner and Nick Bosa being out for the season. And even so, when that happened, it felt like maybe not. And then as time went on, it was like, okay, I think they can pull it together for a wild card. The rest of the league, there's so much parity. There's no team that's that much better. But I think their mindset and what they do in that building and that intensity and hunger that you speak of is why they are where they are, because nobody would have thought after that Tampa Bay game that they'd be in this position. But I think they knew they'd be in this position if they just stayed the course, so to speak, and did what they needed to do.
Yeah, and Krug mentioned it early on in the show, and we've talked about this quite a bit in our conversations, Tracy. The weight of the expectations just has not been there this year, and I think that was something that maybe frustrated 49er fans given the way the offseason went. But I think you could also make the case that the 49ers are benefiting from that very thing that was so frustrating right now. I want to ask you this here to close it up. Where would you rank the Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy head coach quarterback combination in the NFC among the 7 teams currently in, plus maybe Detroit? We'll throw them in there because they're not mathematically eliminated. But where would you rank Kyle and Brock in terms of quarterback coach combinations in the NFC going into the playoffs?
I would say that they're tied for first with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford would be and I know that other people say Matthew Stafford's been there forever and he's one of the best quarterbacks, and he is. But I think right now, looking at them, I would tie them with Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford. I don't think Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni have a real great thing going. We'll see what happens. I spoke about Caleb Williams and Sam Darnold not having been here in this way before. I think it's those top 2 NFC West. They're not the top 2 right now, but 2 of the top teams in the league, and McVay and Stafford and Shanahan and Purdy. Though right now, I'd say Shanahan and Purdy are firing in a different cylinder than the other 2 seem to be, because the Rams are not in a not great position where the division should have been theirs with no issue, and they've totally blown it.
Tracy, thanks a lot. We really appreciate the time. And, of course, you can catch Tracy on 49er pre- and post-game here on The Sports Leader, along with Adam Copeland and Todd Husak on Sunday. And next Sunday, well, I shouldn't say next Sunday because we don't know for sure that game's going to be Sunday or not.
Right.
But the final 2 games of the regular season against Chicago, 5:20 at Levi's on Sunday, and then the Week 18 game once we find out exactly whether that will be Saturday or Sunday as well. Either way, Saturday or Sunday, Week 18, you can catch Tracy. So thank you for the time. We always appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
Happy holidays, Trace. Have a good one.